In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a soft serve ice cream cone similar to this one. In the first video, I'll show you how to make the cone, and in the second video, I'll show you how to make the ice cream. First of all, go to File, New, and select Web, Common, and title it Soft Serve Ice Cream. And I'll put my name on it, and I'll make this one number 2 and click Create. Now I'm going to go get my inspiration image. So File, Open, and there it is, Ice Cream Inspiration, Open. And I will use the selection tool and click on this, Control C for copy, then go back to my document and Control V to paste. Right away over in the Layers panel, right here, Layers, I will open this little sub-menu and click in this empty box right here to put a padlock so I don't accidentally click and drag this. Now I'll use the Zoom tool and draw a box around the part that I'm going to use so that I can see it very clearly. In the tool panel over here, I'm going to click the Rectangle tool and draw a rectangle in the approximate size of the top part of the cone, so something kind of like that. Over in my fill and stroke area, I'm going to click the default button and then set the fill to none and leave the stroke black for now. Next, I will use the direct selection tool, click on this bottom anchor point here and drag it in until it's approximately matches the angle, and do that on both sides. Now I'm going to address this little indent right here by using the pin tool and selecting the Add Anchor Point tool. So right about where the curve starts, I'll go ahead and click to add an anchor point and do it about the same spot on the other side. So click on the line to add an anchor point. Now with the direct selection tool, I'll simply click that new anchor point and drag it in, and I'll do the same thing on both sides. Next, I'm going to convert these to soft corners instead of hard corners. So I'll click and hold on the pin tool and select the anchor point tool and click and drag and slowly unwind that corner there. So click and drag, slowly unwind it. There we go. And that looks pretty good. Next, I'm going to make these little rectangles. So I will click the rectangle tool and just click and drag out one rectangle. Once I have that, I can select it with the selection tool and hold down Alt on my keyboard and simply drag a copy over until I have all of the rectangles that I need. So the next thing that I'm going to do is add some color to this part of the cone. So I do need the swatches open. So under Window, Swatches, there we go. And I will select this gradient. And to change the colors, I first need to go to Window and open the Gradient panel. There we have Gradient. And I need my swatches. So I'll click to open the side menu, go to Open Swatch Library, Color Books, and I like True Match. There we go. So I'll scroll down here to the browns. I'll click and hold on this dark brown and drag it and drop it right on top of that black. Then I'll go back and get a nice warm tan color, click and hold it and drop it on top of the white. And there's my gradient. That looks pretty nice. I don't need the black outline anymore, so I'll click to bring that forward and set it to none. Now I'm going to address these little boxes. So I'll click the first one and hold down Shift and click right on the outline until all of them are selected. So they're all filled with this little dot pattern that you see down here. So to find that, it's under Swatches, open this little side menu, go to Open Swatch Library, Patterns, there we go, Basic Graphics, and Basic Graphics Dots. And they popped up over here. So I'll go ahead and click one, and you can see that the dots went on to the stroke because the stroke was the one that was forward. So I'm going to go ahead and swap that and bring the fill forward. That's what I wanted, except they're too large. So I will use the scale tool, double click it, and it needs to be 50% smaller, and make sure that transform scale is not checked, but do leave scale, strokes, and effects, and transform patterns should have little check marks next to them. Toggle the preview button to see the changes, and when you're happy with the results, click OK. The next thing that I need to do is make the color blend with the cone behind it. So to do that, I need to go to Window, Appearance, and in the Appearance panel, underneath where it says Fill, and I can see the little dots, click to open the opacity and change the blend mode from normal to one of these other ones. And one that I like is Overlay or Soft Light. I think I like Soft Light. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to stop there and move on to creating the bottom part of the cone. Rectangle tool, click and drag to draw out my rectangle, and I'll set this back to the defaults and change the fill to none so I can see what I'm doing. Now I'll take the direct selection tool, grab the corner anchor point, drag it in so it matches, drag it in so it matches, and now I'll do the same thing I did on the cone up at the top. I will use the anchor point tool, the last option, and click and drag and unwind these corners here. Click and drag, slowly unwind so that I have a little bit of a rounded edge down there at the bottom. So the next thing that I'm going to do is make this kind of diagonal waffle cone pattern. So I'm going to use the line segment tool here, and I'm simply going to follow, click and drag, and follow the pattern that's behind it that I can see, and I will just draw those lines on there, going both directions. There we go. So click and drag, click and drag, and last one. Okay, now I want to change the cone, so I'll click the selection tool and select the bottom part of the cone, and I want to give it the same gradient as the top part of the cone, and there's a really fast way to do that. Simply use the eyedropper tool, and with this bottom part selected, simply click on the top part and it copies those attributes. Now I need to select all of these lines, but I don't want to accidentally select the cone. So I'm going to go over here and put a padlock next to the cone so that when I use the selection tool and draw a box around this, I don't get it as part of that selection. Now I do need to make that stroke a little bit larger, so let's see. I will have to go to Window, Stroke, and I'm going to show options and make that, let's try size 4. There we go. Now I will go to Object, Path, Outline Stroke, and now that my strokes are outlined, I'll go to Window, Pathfinder, and click the first button, which is Unite. So now those separate lines are now one shape. All right, next step, I'm going to go back over here to my cone and unlock it so that I can click it, and oops, this is in the way, so that I can click it and drag it down here to the copy layer button so that I have two of them. Now I will click my waffle cone layer pattern and click inside this little circle so this square shows up on the side. Now I'm going to hold down Shift and do the same thing on the cone that's right below it so that it has the little square on the side. So both of those are selected. Now in the Pathfinder panel, I'm going to click the second button over, which is minus front. And temporarily it looks a little bit weird, but I'm going to change that right now by selecting the eyedropper tool and clicking on the dot pattern, and it gives those attributes to the cone. So now I will deselect that, Control Shift A to deselect, and I need to move this part of the cone behind that part of the cone. So I can simply click the top one, hold Shift, and click the bottom one, and just drag it right down here, and that is finished. That's it for this video.